Hello everyone, and welcome back to Voxel Tales. Yes, I forgot to actually dismantle the blaze igloo last time, but that's beside the point. You see, I've got a problem. Well, two problems. Well, okay, I've got lots of problems, but two more pressing than the rest. Number one, luggage has vanished again. I've looked all over for him, but this time he hasn't miraculously reappeared. This isn't me being so desperate for content that I'm just repeating a bit from last week either. No, every time I tell you luggage has gone missing, he has literally vanished into thin air with no explanation. Honestly starting to think it's coded into the mod at this point. Anyway, that's, if anything, the smaller of the problems I mentioned. The bigger problem is twofold. One part in-universe and one part in-video. See, off the back of moving those farms last time, I made us a silk touch shovel, with bonus efficiency and unbreaking, so that when we dig up grass blocks we keep them and don't always have to wait for grass to spread over dirt. Then I went outside, filled in some holes, and finished tying in the hill that currently runs down to the river. Yeah, that'll be good for now. Next, I decided to take down the nether portal. It's probably not a good idea to have one so close to the house. Don't want to make it too easy for that Nether King guy to exact his revenge, now do we? With that taken care of, I turn my attention to one of the biggest outstanding projects we have on the go right now, the restoration of Podnik Cemetery. I've not done anything over here all winter, mostly because of the snow, but also because I didn't realise just how big of a project this was going to be when I took it on. Not only does this place look as if the disaster fairy took a crap all over it, but it's also enormous, which thinking about it begs the question of what a small village like Podnik needs with such a massive cemetery. So what's this problem I was talking about? Well, it's simple, really. This is all the footage there is.
No, it ain't. You've got like 8 hours of footage at least.
Well, no, of course it's not literally all the footage I have. What I mean is that it's all this. I have over 8 hours of footage that's nothing much more than me digging up moss and rooted dirt and then replacing it with regular dirt. I mean, okay, it's not all moss and dirt. I did bring the animals along to keep me company at one point. And I also lay paths. Gwen, can you move, please? Thank you very much. Oh, and there were spawners buried all over the place, so they all had to get moved down into the grinder. But we did all that last week. Back at the cemetery, I also fixed up the headstones and reburied most of the coffins at a more appropriate depth. By the way, if you're wondering where all the stone bricks for this project were coming from, it's from over here at the castle restoration. We've got literally thousands of them from the castle interior walls. Speaking of walls, I've made a start on cleaning the castle exterior. I'm not totally sold on it yet, but that's another episode entirely. There, now we've got over 5,000 of them in main storage to play with. Also, it's chucking it down again, so better go get the animals back inside. Come on you three, time to go home. Let's go, Beans. Alright, everybody in. Oh, safety hazard. Where do you think you're going? Good boy, Whisper. Kelly, where have you gone now? Whisper, for crying out loud! The pair of you, get back in here now. Alright. Seriously? The lot of you, inside before I get annoyed. Good girl, Gwen. Now sit and stay there. Right, you. Inside. And you stay there. Oh, decided to join us, did you? Whisper, out from under the chair. Right, now stay there. Honestly, next time I'm just going to leave you all in the rain. Back over at the cemetery, I had a go at repairing one of the collapsed exterior walls. Nope. Decided I didn't like it, and tore it all back down again. No, now it's too low. Oh, I'll figure it out tomorrow. The next day, there was a tree right where I needed to build a wall. Perfectly nice tree, it was just in the way. And then, as if by magic, it wasn't. Next, I started fixing up the wall surrounding the centre part of the cemetery. I used the same design as the one around the bit that we've already finished. And in doing so, I figured out what to do with the small wall from before. Yeah, happy with that, and just in time for it to start raining again. The storm ended up getting so bad that I decided to call it a day and go home to sleep it off. The room in that bed for me, Cal. The next day I got straight back to it, and a lot of tidying up later, I had what would historically have been the entrance to the cemetery all tidied up. Of course, there was still a hell of a lot left to do. Well, better get on with it. So get on with it I did. Digging out all the overgrown moss and patches of barren earth where nothing grows. Repairing walls. And weeding. Lots and lots of weeding. But yeah, that brings us back to the first part of the problem. For all the work I got done, it's dull as dishwater to watch. So flash forward, and this is where we're at with the restoration. As you can see, it's looking a lot tidier around here. But I told you there was a second, in-world part to this problem, and I wasn't kidding. I was going to get started on this bit over here when I noticed that it's a lot worse than the rest of it. There's exposed remains lying around all over the place, like half of these bodies were just dumped here. And worst of all, it's the bit that York is buried in. So, before I do anything else, I think I need to go and talk to Tom. Tom, can I have a word?
Certainly, Dan. Have a seat.
Has that chair always been there?
It might have been.
Fair dues.
So, my friend, what can I do for you today?
Well, you know I've been tidying up the cemetery.
And an excellent job you've done so far, I might add.
Oh, thank you. But the thing is, I found something a bit odd.
Odd?
Yeah, you see, there's this bit that's, well, worse than the rest, and looking at the layout, it's not exactly in the cemetery.
I see.
I mean, I would have just reburied everything inside the cemetery boundaries and been done with it, but I wanted to talk to you first.
I appreciate that, Dan. Truth be told, I had a feeling this conversation would be coming eventually, ever since I heard what you were doing over there. You're quite right, that area isn't part of the cemetery. That area was reserved for lawbreakers and traitors. You'll remember that Duke Mallory changed after his wife passed.
Yeah?
Well, he made it a policy that undesirables could not be buried in his cemetery.
But that's...
Where my brother's buried. Yes, it is.
What, so he was...
The truth is, Dan, I don't know. All I know is that one day York went to the castle, and when he came back he was visibly upset. A few days later he was gone.
Are you saying he committed...
I don't know, Dan. There's so much I don't know. What I do know is I received a letter from the castle soon after, saying his body would not be welcome in the cemetery. That's why I got so upset when you mentioned him at Christmas. Brought it all back.
Well, I'm not having that.
How do you mean?
Regardless of what he or any of them did or didn't do, they should have a proper place to rest, and as far as I'm concerned, that's not Mallory Cemetery over there, it's Podnik Cemetery. So unless you have any objections, Village Chief, I'm going to go and put this right. And if his lordship turns up and has a problem with it, then feel free to refer him to me. Returning to the cemetery with a renewed sense of purpose and filled with righteous anger, I got to work. Digging new graves, and relocating the coffins one by one to their new plots. Not allowed in his cemetery. Why is it the more I hear about this Mallory guy, the more I want to punch him in the mouth? It took quite a while, and at one point a trip to the Nether for some basalt. But eventually, the only grave left to move was York's. Right then, Mr. Shire. let's get you somewhere a little bit nicer, shall we? There we go, just tuck you in. And because Tom is my friend, I decided to go the extra mile on this one. Okay, just need to engrave it now. And there we go. I guess I'll go do the sign-off and then let Tom know. Well guys, that's it for this episode. Bit of a shorter one this time, and that's totally on me. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, then help us grow by subscribing and leaving us a cheeky like and a comment below. I've been Dan, this has been Voxel Tales, and until next time remember, be good. And if you can't be good, don't get caught. Bye guys.